Hello, hello.
Hello?
Hello, Jacob.
Hello. Do I sound fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, right now you don't. Before you sounded good.
Um, okay. Not 100% sure.
Now you sound better.
Okay. I'm waiting for someone else, right?
Waiting for Daniel with the other new hire,
Okay,
and
okay,
I
okay,
don't know who else.
okay. I think it's just Daniel then.
Okay. LJ mentioned she's not going to be on the meeting right now.
Okay, okay. So far, who have you met with?
So far, we have met with the quality department,
Okay,
with purchasing and estimating and sales.
okay, okay. So then now it would be the art department.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's all the departments, or are there more?
So at least from you guys as because y'all are CS, correct? Customer service or sales?
No, customer service.
Customer service. Okay. So at least for customer service, um, with everybody you've met so far, and then right now that we'll do the art department, that'll basically be most of the people you interact with at least. But we still have all the other departments out on the production floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because we're kind of the last after us and art, everything basically goes out to production, but we still interact a good bit with CS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do we interact with you with the art department? Oh, I think you will explain later, right?
Yeah. I'll explain everything. I'm just waiting for Daniel to join so he can get started with everything. But with us, it's a lot more just documentation stuff, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello,
Here's
good
Daniel.
afternoon.
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
Here, let me try this. Is my screen showing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I'm Jacob from the art department. I'm not the head of the art department. There's another art department manager here. Her name is Mihaela or Michelle, however you want to call her. But I help her out a lot. So I'll be kind of showing you guys everything that we basically interact with you guys in customer service.
Okay, thank you.
So, uh, as an artist, a lot of the jobs that we do get entered in teams. Bring this over here. Everything is looking correct, right? You can see everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of the jobs come into teams for us, and we then disperse them around between all the different artists that we have. So, for example, we have this job right here. I have this one. Otterman screen print job. So when I started job, the things that we need from you guys basically is in the system over here. We'll look for the job. 3, 2, 1, 2. And we look at the job images and check a few different things. So we'll open up whatever files are in here that pertain to us, which is usually engineering drawings, purchase orders. Sometimes there's even emails attached in here from communications with the customer that it's important to us. So we'll go ahead and open whatever we need from here. In this case, it's just the engineering and the PO. So I will open both of those up. I have that over here. And then the next thing I'll also open up is the job ticket for the job. So I don't know if you guys have already gone over the job ticket, but it's basically just the document that holds all the information about the job, basically, that gets used for us and out in production.
Yes, we've seen that.
Okay. So I'll pull that up. And then I'll pull up all the documentation that was provided. And now all we'll do is basically go back and forth to confirm that we have everything correct so far. So first thing first on the PO. So here it's telling us that this PO number is 90993. So we make sure that we have the correct purchase order attached to the job. If it wouldn't be correct, then we would send you an email and be like, hey, could you attach the correct PO? Or if the PO was missing, could you attach the PO because we can't find it? Next thing we want to look at is to make sure that our part number that's being stated here is somewhere on the PO. Sometimes it's kind of tricky if like the customer has a part number, but there's a few customers where the part number that they call something is actually a different part number.
Yeah.
So it's just relating to see where it is on the purchase order. So in this case, sometimes I just copy it, come over here and do Control F to look for it. And we can see that we have it right here. So here's the part number that's matching with this. They want 5,500 pieces. That's what our quantity is. So that's correct. So right now here we go. Sometimes we also look for the revision. They're not always on there. It's sometimes kind of another tricky thing that we have to keep an eye out for. But here it says Rev CT Rev A. Basically this Rev A counts as the same as like this upper one here that says Rev A. So we can confirm that this is indeed the Rev A part that we need. We see that the price is 3,575. If we look over here at the component value, we can see that that's correct. It's good to verify these when we do it. We know that sometimes it can be off. Like, for example, when orders are entered and maybe we're producing just extra parts for extra stock, for example. So we know that sometimes those numbers can be kind of off. But I mean, a majority of the time, they pretty much match up. So we just verify that. Here we can see that it's 65 per part, which is the exact same number that we have over here on the job ticket. And then basically that's it for the PO that we look at. If this were a serialized job, sometimes the serial number range is stated on the purchase order, which is another thing that we would look at. In this case, they're giving us a drawing number. So this I142001. So now we're going to go to their engineering drawing. And if we look down here, look around, so we have this drawing number, which matches with what they said. The revision is also matching, so we know we have the right engineering drawing. So now, when it comes to engineering drawings, we use a lot of PDFs, Adobe Illustrator files. We can even use EPS files, .svg files aren't that great, but
Okay.
we can use them. Same thing with like they're called, I think it's .cdrs, like Corel Draw files. We also use a lot of drawings, so .dwg files. But typically, if anything is a EPS, .eps, .ai, .pdf, or .dwg, those are typically the preferred ones that we like.
Okay.
But obviously, not the customer doesn't always have everything. Sometimes it is just images. Sometimes they'll even give you a PDF or an AI or an EPS, and the file is actually just a photo. So like, for example, here, I have it open as a PDF. I can see that obviously it gives me my dimensions. It shows all my artwork, these notes that we will take a look at. What we want to do here is basically also confirm that everything on here is matching with what we're doing. So, like here, for example, they're calling for this material right here, this vinyl. And if we look at our job ticket, either right here, or we can go straight to the material section, we can see that we have the right material that they're asking for. Sometimes we do use like substitute materials that are pretty much the same thing, but we always want to make sure that we're at least like we're doing what the customer wants, basically. Here they're giving us all the information we need as artists. So the color of what the part is going to be, what fonts we're going to use, and our dimensions over here. Now what we are going to do as artists is we're going to go to Illustrator and we're going to open that PDF that we got. So you'll and then we'll give it a second and open it up. Okay. So this is the file. And now, see, if we look at it in the PDF format, it looked fine. But in reality, when we open it here in Illustrator, this is just a picture. And at least for most of our printing methods, we don't really like pictures.
Vectors.
Yeah, so like this one, it's just a picture that I have here. Sometimes with the artwork that they send, so like for example, this that is screen printing, if I wasn't mistaken. Yeah, so it was SO. Since it's going to be screen printed, this wouldn't work. So instead, what we would have to do is using some of the information they gave us here is basically recreate this artwork, or we can go back, send you an email and ask, oh, does the customer have any other file that they have that they could send? Because sometimes the customer sends over a file like this that's a picture. We go back and ask, and then sometimes they do have an actual vector file that we can
I'm back,
use and
sorry.
work with. Okay, no worries.
Yes, there is a thunderstorm, so my power went out, but I'm back.
Okay. What did you miss, just to make sure that you're also caught up with everything?
The last thing you were talking about, it was, I think you were just opening the PDF like 5 or 7 minutes ago.
Okay, so when I was opening the PO and the engineering drawing?
Yes.
Okay, no worries. So, okay. I'll go over this again. So when we
Jacob,
open,
Jacob,
yes,
just to let
LJ.
you know, we're recording this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just super quick. So basically, we'll just make sure that everything on the PO is matching what the job has. Making sure that the PO number is matching, making sure our part number is matching, the quantity on here is matching what's on the PO. We know the prices sometimes are kind of iffy, but making sure that everything for the most part is matching what the customer ordered. So
Got it.
going back to the engineering drawing, we're looking at our notes to make sure that the materials that they want are correct. Like in this one, it was this white vinyl, which is what we're doing. They give us information on text fonts and everything, and they give us our dimensions. And now we opened this PDF in Illustrator, which was right here. But typically with the engineering documents, we like AI files, EPS files, DWG files, PDFs. Sometimes the customer sends pictures and stuff. We can use them. It's not always the best thing because then sometimes we have to recreate artwork, which obviously takes a lot more time for us to get everything ready if it's urgent and needs to get out to production. So like on this engineering drawing, for example, when I opened it up here in Illustrator, this was an image. Now I could recreate the artwork, but what we would initially want to do is send you guys an email, ask if you have, if you can ask the customer if there's another file that they could possibly send so that maybe they have a vector file that we can use. If not, then here in the art department, we'll deal with recreating and doing whatever we can to get it to match this. Like in this case, this file is a picture. sometimes even when it is a picture, we can try our best to get it to work. Like here, for the most part, I outlined it. It looks like it would be correct, but as I zoom in, we can see that all the letters are really off.
Oh,
So I wouldn't be able to use the picture. Now, the main reason that we can't use this picture is because it is a screen printing job and it's getting printed on the carousel.
mhm,
Whenever we're printing, when we're producing the part digitally, like on the Indigo or one of our other digital presses, pictures are fine for those presses. But when it comes to screen printing, we really do not like pictures. So, like, if this were a digitally printed job, this uh, file that they sent, though it's still technically not the best thing they could have sent us, it's still usable and we can get the job done within our normal time frame. But since this is screen printed, these pictures won't work. So we either have to see if the customer has another file they can send us, or we'll have to recreate the artwork. And luckily for this one, they did give us some good information on like what fonts to use. That's
mhm.
not always the case. Sometimes we do have to recreate the artwork and the customer doesn't have notes on what to use. Like I said, in those cases where we have issues with engineering drawings or even missing files from the job images, maybe we're missing engineering drawings, POs, any other information, we'll just send you guys an email and ask for whatever it is that we need. So the next part, at least from this,
So,
is yeah.
then should we ideally always get back to the customer immediately after we receive this and tell them, hey, the art department will probably need a vector file. Could you check if you have that? And then only after we confirm with them that they either have it or not, then we pass it along to you.
Um, I would say you can still pass it along to us. Like I said, um, it's always not ideal, but sometimes we are able to work with it and still get it out uh quick enough. So if they don't get to you immediately saying, "Oh, here's the vector file," you can still pass it along to us. And if they send it later down the line, then that'd be even better.
Okay.
So here on the job ticket, we can see that we have this note here that says proof due. Sometimes it is here. There's a few times where it's not, but there is a process added that would say like art approval proof.
Mhm.
The point is, whenever we see it either here, or even, for example, on our Teams task where it says needs proof, or even here, need proofs, it lets us know that we have to create an art approval for the job.
Okay.
And basically, on the art approval, it's where we kind of just put everything on there that we need to confirm. So we'll show what the final product that the customer will receive. We'll put on there what it will look like. We'll put on dimensions. We'll list the materials, the size, colors, different processes that are happening to it. If there's any questions that we have that we need to clear up, um, we'll also put on the art approval. Sometimes it can be from just clarifying a dimension, or maybe some dimensions are missing and we dimensioned it even more just for them to confirm that everything looks correct. Sometimes we do ask the customer to deviate from certain things. Like for example, if there's maybe they want a 4-inch roll, but we only have 3.5-inch rolls, and we ask them, oh, could we possibly switch to this? We could ask those kinds of questions and see what the customer says. So we're going to open up just a art approval. And art approval forms look something like this when we opened it as brand new. So as you can see here, we have all these sections where we will fill out information that the job is going to have. We also have some notes over here as for the customer. Whenever we have blueprints, we delete this top note, but it's basically just letting the customer know that, oh, we had to recreate the artwork from scratch. We like using also EMS colors, Pantone colors, especially when we're screen printing. That's a big thing. We like it to be EMS colors. Now, sometimes there is cases where, let's say the customer sends us samples of what they're looking for. And whenever they send those samples over, there's a little sticker that gets attached to the back of that sample, or like on the baggie that the sample is in, that if I'm not mistaken, gets filled out by you guys, that states how we're supposed to use the sample. If the sample is just for size, for color, if it needs to be an exact match of the sample, that little sticker on that goes either on the back or on the bag lets us know how we need to follow. So sometimes, let's say the customer doesn't tell us what color they want for their part. We can, and they send us a sample of shade of blue. We can use that sample to recreate that color. But in other cases where they don't have a sample and they don't have a certain PMS color, that would be example a question that we put here on the art approval saying, oh, do you have a idea of what PMS color you would like to use? Let me pull up an art approval that is already completed so we can get a better idea. Hopefully one with questions. Okay, for example, just this one. So here we have this job right here. We can see that we said this job will be delivered on a roll method number 9, which is up to us to decide. There's no serialization, no barcode, no serialized barcodes, no embossing, no doming, no selective adhesive. This was the date, the artist that did it, the job number, customer, part number, size of the part, materials that are being used, and then kind of just a legend referencing everything here, letting them know that this green line is the type of cut that we are doing and that it's not going to be printed, and that the part they're going to receive is just going to be white that's coming from the base material and black. And if we look at this job number, we can see 782 on the engineering drawing that we received. The corners of it were squares. But when we print on rolls, we like to add a 0.03 radius corner, which we have added that note here so that the customer knows, since technically we are deviating from the original shape that they wanted, like here. So we'll update our art approvals, get them nice and ready to send. And then I'm actually the one that sends most art approvals out. There is a few other people that sometimes send it out, but for the most part, I'm the one that sends the art approvals out to the customer. There are notes on the job tickets, for example, that will state maybe if the CS needs to send the job ticket. Let me pull up the job ticket again. So here, not all job tickets have it, but it is good to add it if it's necessary. So typically, I have another job ticket here for an example. Typically on the job ticket, it says that this is the customer, this is the contact, and this is the email associated with that contact. When it's time to send an art approval, I will go based off the email that is right here. But if that person is not the person that I need to send the art approval to, there is another category on that contact area that will show up like this, that says art approval contact and the email of that art approval contact, which will then let me know that I need to not go based off this email, and instead I need to go based off this email. So in this case, for example, I had to send the art approvals straight to LJ, and then LJ was the one that dealt with sending it to the customer and getting whatever feedback from them, and then letting me know whatever the customer wanted. But if I had to send it straight to the customer, typically what that looks like is I'll send an email from the art approval email that we have. I'll attach said proof to the job. I would then send it to the email that's stated around here, either the original one or the art approval one, depending on which one's there. Let's pretend this is an LJ, but I would then look at the CS for the job, and I'll always CC them as well to the job for the email that I send. And then I'll just put like art approval for part number or part numbers when I send multiple proofs at the same time. I'll attach the art approval or art approvals and then just say something along the lines of good afternoon. Please see the proof. And then any other questions that were stated on the approval, I'll also restate them here in the email or say something along the lines like, oh, please see the comment section on the art approval since our artist had a question. Send it to the email. I mean, send it to the customer. And then we just wait to hear back from the customer. Now, some customers respond really quick. Some customers take a little bit longer. Once that initial art approval goes out, we'll wait a day till we follow back up with them. And then if we still haven't heard back from them, we'll try reaching out once more. And if we don't hear back from the customer those 2 times, we will then send the job back to customer service so that then you guys can reach out to the customer and hopefully get an answer from them. I would also pay attention also whenever we do send the art approval emails. Sometimes the customer responds back, but only to the CS, and then they leave the art approval email out of it. So if that ever happens, just remember to always send it back to me as well, so that way I can send that approval to the artist, so the artist knows, okay, we're good to go, and we can proceed with the job.
Okay.
All that communication from the art approval emails, once the art approval is approved, we will save that email chain. For example, like this job that I have here, which was for not this one, this job right here, where we were told that everything is fine. We had a few questions about some parts, but please proceed with the job, blah, blah, blah. We will print, quote unquote. It's really just saving it as a PDF, but we will save that email chain in the system for us in the V drive under MSI tools, customer communications, and the customer abbreviation. And we'll save it in there as the part number or part numbers. And then once we saved it, we'll attach that, what is it called? That PDF file of the email conversation to the job images. Now, if the approval was not approved and the customer sends something back with changes or questions about what we are showing on the proof, we'll update whatever it needs to be updated. And we have a little counter here on the side. So usually when we start the art approvals, these will always start off as 1. And as the art approvals get sent back, this will move along and then change numbers however many times we have to go back and forth with the art approval. Typically art approvals, they're pretty quick. Typically they don't go really past 3 for the most part. unless like there's some really iffy things with the part that is having a lot of back and forth from. But for most jobs, a proof gets approved within 1 to 2 back and forth. There are times when we're working on the art approval that the customer uh, cancels the order or they change revisions. If the order gets canceled, you guys can just close out of the order. If the revision gets changed, the customer usually then sends over the new artwork, which will then reference that new artwork and do our art approval based off. Usually they send that over emails. We can add that to the job. Um, you guys can also go ahead and add it. I guess it's just kind of whoever gets to it first. But we'll make sure that it's there by the end of it. But really, after that, for the most part, that's typically where our our duties basically interact with you guys. It's just a lot of making sure that we have the right information and all the information needed for the job. Um, Especially like when we do art approvals, sometimes customers take a little bit longer to respond to me from the art approval emails. But sometimes when the CS then reaches out, they'll respond, clear everything up, and we can get the job moving. Um, do you have any questions?
None that I can think of right now. It seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, a lot of it is just making sure everything is here. If we have questions, uh, we'll interact with you guys and ask about that. Um, Me, on the most part, you'll see a lot of emails from art approvals, um, with me as the person who sent them. But that's basically everything for the most part from where we interact. Now, um, just a little more on what we would then do as artists. Once our art approval is approved, and that's basically the endpoint from our communication back and forth, um, we will continue with the job and get everything else ready that the job will need. So after the jobs come to us in art, they basically head straight to production. So anything that's going to get used out in production needs to be already done. So the artwork for the part needs to be done so that when it gets to the press, they'll be ready to print the job. If the job is going to get digitally cut, uh, we go ahead and make whatever cut files are necessary. If the if the cutting method is going to be via one of our dies, like on the clamshell or the preco or the rotary, or for example, the clem, which is one of our printing processes that can cut also while later down the line, those use dies. So that tool would need to be created and ordered. We take care of that. Um, so we basically just take care of everything, all the documentation, the CD PDFs that get used for the jobs, uh, we create as well. The job ticket that goes along production that holds the PO, the CD PDF, the job ticket, and all that information. Once we're done, we put that all together and then send that out to wherever it needs to go. One thing that I just thought of, so on the job tickets, for example, any notes that you may put on here will show up here in red. I would always keep an eye on those notes to make sure they are still in effect or correct. Same thing with the order type, because it happens a few times where the order will come to us as a new job, and after we do a little bit of digging and looking into it, it turns out that the job is actually a rerun, meaning we've done it before, so we don't need to go through all these processes again. It just saves a little bit of time on our end. Same thing with notes down here. Sometimes there's notes that are on there from like a few jobs ago. If it's still in effect, it's fine. We can leave it there. But if the note is still not, if it's not in effect for this job or it doesn't matter anymore, you can go ahead and remove it. So that way it's a little bit more clearer for us when we look at the job ticket. Because when we see notes that maybe there's a note on here that says job is to be read, and it has a date from like this one, 2022. And then I look at my engineering drawing and it says the part is supposed to be black. That can be a little bit iffy. So then we have to stop, go, ask, figure out to make sure which is the correct color. So like if that note wasn't good anymore, you can just go ahead and remove it. So that way it just kind of clears things up for us down the line. Trying to think of what else we deal with a lot. Um, but this note area, this is really helpful for us. Sometimes there are examples where we'll have for example, let's say the customer ordered a certain amount of parts and we're gonna order a die for it. But we charge the customer for it. There should be a component to the job that should state that. If I'm not mistaken, I have a job over here that I could show as an example. Let me look at TMS. This one. 2, 4, 6. So on this job, we are ordering a die for it. So we can see here that we have multiple components to the job. So when we go to, let's say that second component, here we can see that we have a die charge. And it lets us know the price that we charge the customer for the die. So if there's a die charge, it's good that it's there so that way we know, and then we're not left out maybe we think there isn't one when in reality there is. Um, Setup charges we don't really worry about. Our main concerns are always the initial component or components where we're actually producing something. Any component that has a die charge, and components that have something along the lines of an FAI or an FPA. We also look at so that we make sure we send out the appropriate documentation out to production. I don't know if there's
The
one
power
might
again,
here.
but don't worry.
Okay.
I'll just watch the rest of that part in the afternoon.
Okay. Let's see if there's one like that. I don't know one off the top of my head. Um, one thing that I can think of is, for example, when a job has a delivery request, so the customer wants it in a quick time frame. Typically, the job ticket will have in bold red letters that it is a delivery request. Sometimes the job gets entered as a delivery request. Sometimes they enter the delivery request uh, once we already started on the job. So like this, it says delivery request. There should be a document that gets added to the job images, like this one right here where it says delivery request, that will open up and print out. And whenever we make our job tickets, we'll staple this on top of our job ticket and send it out to production. That way everyone's aware that this job is urgent and it needs to get taken care of. So it's just always making sure that this document is in here. I think that's pretty much everything. There's nothing else I can really think of. Unless you guys have any questions, or if there's something that you think I missed, LJ.
Sorry, I was at my dad's appointment. No, I don't think you've missed anything, Jacob. I think everything was well explained. Uh, did you explain anything about MSD? I did not see that.
Not in detail, but I mean, at least for MSD jobs, it's kind of the same thing, just making sure we have all proper documentation available.
Okay. Okay, then I think everything's fine. As long as we have um, all that information. Again, I know Daniel and Jay will probably come up with some questions later on. So if they have any questions, they can reach out to you, Jacob, via
Yes.
Teams.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess that's it. If you don't have anything else to show, then we can go ahead and conclude the session for now. And then we'll meet up again at 4 o'clock.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate your
All right.
help on this.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
Thank
you.
you.
Daniel and
Yes.
Jay. Okay. So right now, you have about an hour
Okay.
till our 4 o'clock meeting with my customer. And
Okay.
so we'll jump on. So if you have a moment, go ahead and review the work instructions, tackle that email that I gave you, if there's any questions that you come across from today's training sessions, go ahead and send those out to whoever you need to direct them to, and just copy me on them. And then that way, and if not, if you don't know who to send them to, go ahead and send them to me, and I'll forward them to who they need to be at.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you gentlemen later.
Okay.
All right.
See you
Bye-bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye.